Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard,
I'm Steven.
and today we will discuss the Great Meat Wars, the moral and ethical debate of eating meat versus veganism. We won't be focusing on the health benefits or risks, only the morality involved with eating animals and their byproducts. To eat meat or not to eat meat? That is the question.
Ooh.
But first, how was your week?
This is going to be a messy one, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, my week's been kind of rough. Just a lot of dumb, shitty things going on in the background. I talked about in the last episode, this works well with our meat debate, but that whole freezer of meat that went bad in the basement, the city trash refused to take it because it was too hazardly. Yeah. And they spelled hazardly wrong. It was really fun. They somehow got an I in it. Hazard, I-D-L-Y. It's pretty goofy. And they weren't wrong. It really was too hazardly. But I've just been like dealing with some dumb shit going on in the background, trying to like not be angry, be calm, getting some art done. And I may be getting good news on that job soon. They reached out to all my references, which is a good sign. But
Yeah.
just kind of keeping it going, man. What about you?
Been kind of tired lately, but I'm doing it. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Business has been great at the smoothie truck, so which means we're working harder to keep up with stock for events. We did just hire someone else on new, so they can potentially help do more prep and cover more shifts.
Did that just happen?
Just within the last week, I think.
Nice. Do you got to do training?
I haven't had to yet. I think my boss is mostly going to take care of that.
That's cool.
At least for now. I might be able to take over that when we get into doing prep and stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah.
He's really hands-on like I am. Like he wants to make sure that he's, there for the person and make sure, you're not just bringing someone on and then like they get kind of thrown to the wolves kind of thing. So, which is cool.
Wolf meat.
Yeah, wolf meat. Of course, so that makes it it makes it harder to plan for, the colder months and stuff that are coming up, like, get ahead of stuff. But we're trying to get ahead of it and at least get out of the weeds a little bit, and then we can strive towards planning for the future.
Yeah.
I still haven't moved into the house yet, but it should be soon though. And maybe not the next time we record, but the time after that. Hopefully, I'll be recording from the new house.
Probably by the time this drops, you'll be setting up the new crib.
Yeah.
All right. What about honorable mentions? You got any cool stuff this week?
I do. For a change, I have a new one. So I want to shout out Moonlight Magazine. You can find them on Instagram. It's just the Moonlight Magazine. It's actually somebody that I've worked with and I know. It's like a magazine. It's like a horror themed, like boudoir kind of imagery. They feature a lot of different, a few different photographers that take the pictures, and they do some like movie reviews of horror movies, and they talk about like themes, and it's a really cool look to see, like. And they interview the artists or the photographers, and they like ask them like about their style and like what got them into it, and different stuff like that. I think it's a really cool way to look at that genre. The horror boudoir thing, like I got usually like my style of drawing. I usually end up doing like girls and like scary shit. That's what I like to draw. Like since high school or middle school, like so that's. It kind of fits along with something that I like to do. So it's cool to see someone else doing it right. You can actually, the way to get their product is either through their Patreon or through OnlyFans. They're doing it through that as well. It's the same subscription cost either way, which I think is cool to utilize that platform as well.
Yeah, it's so wild that OnlyFans is going legit. No sexual content soon.
Yeah.
Dude, whoever that, first up, their stuff's cool. They definitely, it looks like they do some storytelling, but lots of cool photography. Whoever that brunette woman is crouching is gorgeous. Like, captured very well. I like the aesthetics they're playing with a lot.
Yeah, they do a lot of cool stuff with I guess like with different tropes and like different like imagery that is it's just really cool shit.
Yeah.
Really
Now,
unique. I don't see a lot of other people doing it, doing stuff like this. So
no, this feels kind of like a deep cut, like awesome find for people that are into like the horror fetish genre. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way. Do you think this is like horror fetish?
Maybe. I mean, I think you could look at it that way. I'm sure that wouldn't be too far of a stretch. It's definitely erotic.
Classier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's tastefully done. It's not like, porn.
Yeah.
But there is nudity involved. But it's really, even like the new set I really like because they've been posting pictures of it. It reminds me of like Evil Dead or like, or just because of the cabin, I guess, in the woods kind of thing. But it's also like the masked, like gargantuan killer, in the woods. And there's like, a couple hot girls in the woods, like typical horror movie trope thing. It's classic.
Yeah, I like the ghost story vibe too, the aesthetic. That's very cool, man. Shouts out to your buddy.
Hell yeah. What you got?
So I think since we recorded our string theory one, I kind of got like sucked into the psychedelic art world a little bit more than normal. So I was re-listening to Infected Mushroom. That's like one of my favorite psych electronic music groups. They're an Israeli musical duo that produces and performs psytrance electronica. They've got some great older albums, but one of the newer ones, Back to the Sauce, if you start at about 15 minutes in, that album is so fucking wild. I mean, the whole thing's good, but 15 minutes in it really starts to build. The track, actually, that track is the Return to the Sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. You were actually the one that introduced me to Infected Mushroom.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it, it's one of the few electronic style, artists that I really appreciate.
Right.
What they're doing.
You could go to a club or a rave and there's so many good electronica like tracks, but there's not a lot of good groups, and they're so much more intricate and like harmonious than most of the things out there. Very melodic. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of them.
Even if well thought out, well composed.
Yes, it's almost like the classical music of electronica.
Yeah.
In composition, at least. So I've been listening to that, and then I found this artist I was not familiar with before. The first link is his Instagram page. It is at HAXLOEFFLER, Haxlofer. His name is Max Loeffler. Mm-hmm. This guy is I believe solely digital, but I may be wrong. He's an illustrator. He does what I would vaguely call surrealism, psychedelic illustration work. Mm-hmm. It seems like most of it is done or at least finished digitally. That first link goes to a piece he did. It's an illustration for New York Magazine, and it's so good. I love his colors, his palette, like the stippling, the texture. I just love this dude's aesthetic.
Yeah, I definitely see, like, I think the way you described it is probably the best you could possibly get. Because it's unique. There's a lot of, you can see the allusion to the influence of like Magritte.
Yes.
And some like Dali kind of stuff.
And
it's really impressive.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the genre similar to his work isn't really my thing. Like, I'm not big on some of what is closer to vaporwave or like aspects of like trippy art, but he does it in a really unique way that just feels really fresh. Like some of his pieces might not be my thing per se, but I just love how he approaches them. His colors specifically, he uses like very, very good contrasting colors, but in a muted palette a lot of the time. But it feels like so strong and vintage. And I really adore the texture. That stippling dot effect is something that I don't know if I could ever use in my own work, but I fucking love it in other people's.
Yeah. I feel like there's a time and a place for it, but he uses it really well.
Yeah. If you guys check this out, if you scroll down pretty far into his Instagram, he has one of his notebooks where he worked, like you can see he drew them by hand. Maybe it was edited later, but all the ink is blue, and it's this really awesome series he did in his notebooks. Just very talented. Seems like he definitely has really established himself in his style. And if you're interested in either psychedelic art, surrealism, or any combination of it, check this guy out. Really cool stuff. Max Loeffler, and on Instagram at HAXLOEFFLER.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Right, I gotta close my my windows here. I was
we gotta
looking at that artwork.
We gotta get prepared for this big meat fight. The big debate.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So I guess first let's discuss the initial opinions, biases, kind of stuff like that, our initial thoughts on the subject. So when it comes to the morality of raising animals as food or hunting and fishing for food, I don't see an issue with it. Yeah. If you're running like a small operation, like a cattle farm, like for selling locally kind of thing, like that's totally fine in my opinion. Where it becomes an issue to me is when you have like the industrial meat processing plants with the horrible conditions for the animals. And that being said, I recognize that I'm part of the problem because I do purchase animal products without knowing where they're sourced from. And that's something that I've decided to be more observant of, especially in like thinking about doing this episode. Like I've been working in vegan restaurants for the last 5 years. But it's not really, most of my diet typically tends to be more plant-based, or at least it was until I started doing keto, which I'm not doing anymore. But we have local butcheries here that purchase meat from like locally run family farms. So it's hypocritical that I don't use them as much as, for the amount of, animal products I eat.
Yeah, I know this whole topic is something you've thought a lot about, and I know this week for myself, it's been on my mind a lot, and I was trying to like distill my thoughts because it's such a big thing, our daily diet, and it affects us a lot.
Yeah.
That said, I eat trashy as fuck. I try not to, but I often do. I try to eat less meat, and I don't think eating animals is inherently immoral, but I do think the amount of which we eat meat is very imbalanced. We want to keep in mind during this debate where it revolves around our typical daily diet, not extreme situations. If you're starving, you should eat anything that sustains you, except maybe humans. That's debatable. Well, I do think it's natural to eat what many people consider to be lesser animals or creatures lower than us on the food chain. I also think it is largely unnecessary and destructive in modern areas of the world to eat animals, at least to the amount we do. I think to an extent that I actually am living outside of my ethics by consuming animals, but mainly because the amount of which I do, not by the fact of which I do. So it's something I'm trying to find balance with. And even if it's simply because I think of humans as animals, I wouldn't particularly want a bigger, stronger animal to eat me.
Yeah.
That said, my cat would definitely eat me given the chance. I know she would. I see it in her fucking eyes. And I find, she's a little tiger, dude. She's been eating me up all week. She takes nibbles any chance she can get. And I find it challenging to debate on why I shouldn't eat my cat, given it would eat me, or she would eat me, or more realistically, another animal if I choose so. My cat's definitely way too cute to eat, and I don't think she would taste good.
Nah. But all the work cleaning the bones and everything, you wouldn't even really get that big of a meal out of it. Nah.
It's nothing. Maybe when she gets bigger.
Fatten her up.
To that point, I think we all have free will in this and many other areas of controlling what we put in our bodies. And the burden of proof, in my opinion, in the debate of carnivores versus vegans is on the vegans because they should prove why we should not do something. That's kind of what my thoughts have come to this week a bit.
Yeah, I think the way you have that phrase, like we talked about that, it sounds controversial. I think it's right, it's correct, but if you think about it in the way that, like, if you're saying that someone, like, you should deny this resource, you should back up why, rather than saying, hey, we shouldn't do this, and then consider that enough of a blanket statement. It'd be,
right. Like, if you believe in freedom, free will, you're libertarian, whatever, all those things, like, the base level is we should be allowed to do anything, right? And then things like laws or societal contracts, whatever, inform our morals, and we find ways to make rules on why we shouldn't do something. And I think it is a hard thing to prove why we shouldn't eat animals, even though I think we should eat a lot less. But it's a hard thing to prove why someone shouldn't do something.
Yeah. Or at least to convince.
Right.
Proving why it's a good idea is different than convincing people that it's worth following.
Definitely. And there's a lot of ignorant people on the side of carnivores who are going to be pretty goddamn stubborn.
On both sides.
That's true. You want to kick us off with a brief background on this?
Sure. So a brief history of humans as omnivores. So the oldest undisputed evidence for hunting dates back to the era of Homo erectus, around 1.7 million years ago. Skeletal records and evidence of stone tools present that even they show that even before we hunted live prey, we were at least scavengers. We would eat meat from the remains of other animals' hunt. When we began domesticating animals some 12,000 years ago, which is it's a fascinating gap between 1.7 million years ago when we started, like, hunting for our food versus 12,000 years ago when we said, all right, let's settle down and, like, grow our own shit and, raise our own animals. The animals were then raised to produce not just the food that they need by the family, but it's also like the fuel, the fertilizer, clothing, transport, working power. And killing the animal for food was a very secondary consideration. And wherever possible, the products such as, like, wool and eggs and milk were harvested while the animal was still alive. Just you get more out of it that way. Hunter-gatherers have been providing us with meat for sustenance for ages. So why is it such an issue now?
Right. We developed our canine teeth for a reason.
Yeah.
We needed them. I have heard the argument that our ancestors, the Homo erectus, showed pathological changes consistent with too much vitamin A. There were some of the skeletons that were found that we could see that there was vitamin A poisoning in the body. We do attribute this disorder to high dietary intake of animal liver. That could be from the scavenging or from the hunting, but most probably that of the carnivores during the period where the dietary habits of Homo erectus were changing. Under microscopic study of the teeth, we saw indications that the Homo erectus had teeth that grew at a rate similar to that of the great ape, which would be some big chompers. That'd be That'd be cool to have some fangs, though, for real.
Yeah.
This high animal protein diet, later combined with our cooking of food, caused for more efficient nutrient consumption, helped our brain grow, lots of wrinkles. We're real smart now, right? We use those teeth to rip apart meat and aid digestion for thousands of years. This isn't like there's some science background, but this is just kind of like how I think of it. I feel like it would be much more likely that we would have evolved with all flat teeth if we weren't meant to consume some amount of meat. Like, it seems like evolution wins out that way to fit our needs. And maybe we had the big teeth then, big fangs meant to rip meat, but we don't the same way today. So with that in mind, we only have a few canine teeth, and they aren't nearly as proportionally big or sharp as animals near our size, such as the apes, which to me may be an indication that we are meant to eat some meat, but not as our primary staple to our diet.
Now, I will say that actually the apes, or at least gorillas, I know gorillas have very similar teeth structure to ours.
Right, they have flat teeth also, right?
They have, well, they're kind of, yeah, they're flat. They're, for grinding in the back, but they do have those, the similar front teeth, and their fangs, their canine, whatever, they're much bigger than ours. But the gorillas they're herbivores. They will occasionally eat bugs and stuff, but they're herbivores.
And they still have the fangs?
Yeah.
They do. I wonder if that's like a weapon thing, like a defense.
With them big ass arms, you think them? Maybe the teeth.
They just rip our arms right off.
They're fucking monsters.
I wonder if like evolution considers like intimidation as a factor. Like, I know with some specific animals that's definitely a thing, but I wonder if like an ape being a herbivore, if the fangs are kept because it's like a violent display of sorts.
I think that is an ape thing, intimidation thing, is bearing their teeth.
Yeah.
That might be monkeys. It might be both. I forget, but I know I've seen it happen.
Monkeys scare me. Out of any animal, I don't fuck with apes, bro. They're too close. They're ready to revolt anytime, I can tell. Planet of the Apes style.
Actually, while we're talking about gorillas, my mom's diet is mostly, almost entirely plant-based. Yeah. Well, no, she always talks about the gorilla because like them being their diet being vegan, besides occasional bugs, like look how strong they are.
Right.
Look at, like, where do you think, people say like, where do you get your protein? And it's like, where do you think he gets his protein? Look at that motherfucker. He's huge. They're strong as fuck.
Right. The protein argument is such a bad argument, but unfortunately it often rings true with people. But that's like because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I like this note that you put in here. The vegetarian is a BS half measure.
It is, man.
I don't think so.
What?
I really don't, because, well, if the goal is to like not eat as much meat or not have as much in your diet, maybe you don't eat, pork or beef or chicken or whatever. And actually, there's a lot of people that are like vegetarian. They're considering like shellfish and stuff because it grows the same way as plants. Or you can farm it the same way as plants. That like oysters and shit like that are technically, plants of a sort. That they count are like, what's it called? Pescatarianism, where it's vegetarian diet, but you also eat fish. That's apparently
that makes no sense to me.
Well, here's the thing that so my boss from my last place is a doctor, right? And he told me that he always tried to push the vegan diet. He's a cardiologist, and his whole thing was like pushing the dietary stuff. But like apparently the pescatarian diet is one of the best you can do, because with a vegan diet, you're at least for like people, for like your colon, your digestive system. There's studies that show like like a 45 to 50% less, likely chance to get colon cancer, or a better chance fighting it in a vegetarian or in a vegan diet. It's like 90% better chance with a pescatarian diet. And I'm sure it has something to do with like the fish oils and stuff like that. You can probably take supplements to, counteract that, but like that protein that, those omega chains or whatever, like that's a better deal for at least your digestive tract.
I agree. Vegetarian and maybe eating the fish with it too is like good if you're from the viewpoint of like eating less meat. But if you do it for purely ethical reasons, it's kind of hypocritical, right? Like,
I also still don't think so. Cause it's like, if you have like if your moral thing is like, unless you're saying like farming animals at all, or keeping animals, like keeping chickens to produce eggs is abuse.
I think that's,
I'm sure that I know there are people out there that think that, but like, if you're going to keep chickens, they're going to lay eggs.
Right. It's definitely easier to debate with the fish because a lot of the fish farms are like super barbaric. And if the person's eating them anyway, like why is a fish worth less than a chicken or whatever? But I don't think vegetarianism is bad, but it just seems like kind of like a half step. Like if you're doing it just because you want to like improve, and have less meat consumption, I'm with it. But if you do it for the same ethical reasons a lot of vegans do, then it's kind of bullshit.
I think I disagree. Mostly because I guess I've been surrounded by so much of the vegan stuff that like I recognize that like, so like supporting local apiaries and farms, it's like one of the best ways to fight industrialized meat. Obviously you can like, go petition and whatever and, go to Congress or whatever too. But like, so buying local stuff and voting with your dollar shows that there's a higher demand for higher quality standards. And I think vegans in general need to get over the use of animal byproducts and recognize that like without bees, most of their diet doesn't exist. And with their species on the decline, or at the best, like they get regulated as stable, supporting apiaries with good practices is essential to keep the bee population thriving. And like, so using beeswax or even like buying socks made from alpaca fur should be encouraged if you know that you're buying from a sustainable source with, good practices. Like we had a farm that wasn't far from our house in Florida that had a bunch of alpacas, and they were like, some of them were like show alpacas and stuff. And, they had a huge farm that they, grazed in and whatever. But they just harvested, you have to shear them during the summertime down there. And they would, make socks and like scarves and stuff out of their wool.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't see anything wrong with doing that. The alpaca are happy. They live a good life, so at least by that point, it's for the vegetarian part, like eggs, milk. I mean, dairy milk's gross.
I agree, like with the animal byproducts part, but I find some level of like, it's confusing to me, but hypocrisy in like even vegetarian or vegan eating, in the sense like to farm a lot of like just vegetables, there's still like tractors and farm equipment killing all kinds of animals, right? Like unless you're really like doing it yourself by hand, or like really are going to like specialized place, it's all like a level of damage. And
now, when you say tractors and stuff killing animals, are you like driving the tractor over some goats?
Dude, they like, it's crazy. I watched some breakdown on it. Like for each acre of land, it's like X amount of animals, like deer and shit.
That actually get like caught in it.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
I was gonna say like that lose their home, I guess maybe.
No, they're
just taking over their land, but
like even with like a lot of like more ethical options, I don't even know what vegetables it would be specifically, but like shit they run the big combines through and stuff to harvest, like you're still killing a shit ton of fucking animals. Like it's less than eating meat directly.
I think that's like on a large scale.
Right.
It becomes a problem. Yeah.
That's why, like, if you're doing it yourself or going to like places where you really know the chain of where the food came from, you can avoid a lot more damage. But it's all like levels of damage, right?
Yeah.
I think a big part of the debate is just knowing where your food products come from.
Yeah.
And it can definitely be expensive to get the more ethical suppliers. I don't think that's an excuse, but it is a valid reason on why many people don't feel they have the time or means to acquire the better options. More than the money, I think it's about time and effort. And this is something I really don't do, and I would like to. It's just, I feel like it's just so fucking hard in our wild world. Like, I don't know. So many of us just are like in survival mode. Like, we're not starving, but we're like just figuring it out on the go. Like, I don't plan my meals or research my food the way I wish our society did as a whole. But, you know, to that, like, we all kind of have to figure that out ourselves and encourage the change or whatever.
I think for sure, like, you know, especially if you go into the grocery store and you have a budget for food, you know, it's like you're going to try to get your best value.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes sense. Like, I definitely understand that. Just
I eat the cheapest meat possible.
Yeah. You go to Save-A-Lot, get that just past expiration frozen chicken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Freeze it for 3 months and then break it back out, crack it open.
You go to Walmart and you have someone you go to the back and have the stuff that, you know, they pull it out of the refrigerated area like fucking Tiger King.
Yeah.
You can't put it back.
It's mine now.
Oh boy. Jesus Christ. You know, but like animals in general, like it's whether it's their meat or like the you know, products they produce, like, you know, I said dairy or milk earlier, but like also like butter and cheese. Like, I hate, you know, milk. Like, the idea of drinking a glass of cow's milk right now sounds gross.
Sounds so delicious to me right now.
But every winter I fuck up some eggnog.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I don't like eggnog, but I would love me some cow water right now.
Some cow water.
I'd drink a half a gallon right now, just for the hell of it.
And like, cheese is my favorite food group. It's extremely good, you know, just by itself or on something, whether it's cold or melted. You know, you can have it all the time.
I hit Chipotle after work the other day, and this is the third time it's happened, but I got Sarah something as well, and my order was perfect, and then hers had no cheese or sour cream.
Oh, no.
And it's the third time it's happened. And
That's a sad burrito.
It's so sad.
Who did she make mad at the Chipotle?
I don't know. It was me ordering by myself, so I think she thinks I'm doing it on purpose.
You're gaslighting her with Chipotle?
Like, I'm so sorry.
That's some real toxic shit right there.
So what are our solutions or ways out?
I guess so. The idea is you find a way to sustainably, I guess, go about it, because you're not going to convince people to like not eat meat. Some of them you might catch, but like, if you think about it as a whole, you know, you compromise, right? So like, how do we sustainably go about it? First, let's talk about fucking lab grown meat.
Yeah, man. I haven't had any of it yet, but I think there's some. There's a little bit on the market that you can get, but it's so expensive it's not worth it. Except like the Impossible Burgers, maybe.
No, that's not lab grown meat. That's just soy protein isolate.
I was combining them in my head.
Yeah. And like, that stuff's fine too. And they're getting better. I think it was Beyond Burger. Like, they're like way less processed shit now. It's a much better product. Still, I think it smells like cat food, and that turns me off. But the lab grown meat thing, I think, is fucking huge. There's a couple people out there doing it. Like they're like, some of them are like making this stuff and then like 3D printing it to look like steaks and prime ribs and shit, which is kind of cool. But there's Just is a brand. They were known mostly for some of their vegan substitute stuff like mayonnaise. It's incredible the stuff they're doing. They're taking like micro tissues of animals, like while they're alive, like doesn't, hurt them or whatever. I mean, I'm sure, it hurts them a little bit because they have to like cut into them a little bit. But it doesn't, it's a healable thing, probably like getting a shot. And then they take that tissue and then, I forget how, I guess they take some of the enzymes out of it. I haven't read about it in a minute, so I might have it mixed up. But they inject that into, they take that with plant fibers, and they feed it, plant protein, and it grows, and it's a meat cell that's growing from plant proteins, plant fibers. So it's by all intents and purposes, it's plants.
I thought it was more similar to like cloning meat than growing it with plant. It's probably similar. It's
similar in a sense, but yeah, they're growing meat in a lab in petri dishes, which I don't like to say it in petri dishes. I shouldn't have said that because it does turn it off but I think it's the same argument that people talk about with like some of the GMO stuff. It's like, if you're gonna address the food problem, and like if we're constantly losing crops because of drought or because of flooding or like different issues, and we can prevent that by doing in a couple weeks what it would take hundreds of years of research and breeding to do with these plants, why not? We have the technology. Let's fucking use it. Is it weird? Yeah, but it works.
I watched something on it. Like if they weren't using GMOs the way we did for a long time, it like so many X million amount of people would have been dying each year from starvation.
Yeah.
Like it changes the amount of food we, it changes a fucking lot. Yeah. It's been put to good use. I don't really, maybe if I had the option of like, modified food or pure organic, maybe I'd choose organic, but I don't fully understand the people that are adamant on only organic.
Yeah, and like obviously organic stuff's way better for you. Like that's definitely a better choice if you can get it. It is. I mean, and it's
but
not.
Don't they up
it's
the
not
nutrients on some of the GMO shit too?
I mean, that's possible too. But if they do, it's still, I'd still argue that like the pure thing by itself is better because it's the most natural, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean that it's the only thing that you can eat, and anything else is so below you.
Well,
you know what I mean? And
to that argument,
I was going to say let me finish this thought real quick. So if God damn it, I lost my train of thought.
Is it because I interrupted you 4 times?
No, it's all good. The organic stuff, like most of the things that people are going out to get organic don't even need to be bought organic. Like things that have like a rind on them or something that you don't, like an avocado, you don't need to get fucking organic avocados. They have a fucking shell on them. Like the main thing that people are concerned about with the organic stuff is like the pesticides and shit that are sprayed on them. And so like when you get that, like there's not pesticides on this thing, and still to be considered organic, it's not that they weren't sprayed with pesticides, it's that they weren't sprayed with pesticides within like, what is it, like the last like 4 weeks before they were harvested. It doesn't mean that they didn't use pesticides. They just didn't use them like so close to harvest time. So there's less of a chance that it's on the plant.
Gotcha.
Like,
yeah, and you always should wash your shit.
Yeah,
anyway.
Like broccoli, lettuces, like anything that's like has nooks and crannies or is harder to like scrub the surface of. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like organic's a good choice for that, those kind of things. But I don't think that you can have, by all means, you can have a genetically modified thing and then grow it without pesticides. I mean, that would be the goal, right? Is to like make the seed strong enough to, you know, to grow without the need of pesticides.
Yeah.
So
now, so do you know this? If we ate like a lab grown steak or burger, is the DNA of it could you eat a steak with chicken DNA, or you know what I mean? Like, is it its own thing, or is it the actual animal DNA of? You know what I mean?
I don't know that for certain. But from what I understand, it's by all means it's meat. It's that chicken DNA meat.
I think
they take that tissue cell and it's not tissue, it's the tissue cell, and they grow the tissue cell, and they multiply, and as cells do.
It freaks me out a little bit. I know you're more like full into the future tech.
I mean, I think because mostly as a chef, I'm very curious to taste it.
Yeah. That would be, what if it tasted just off, just a little bit, and you couldn't explain why?
I mean, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it will. I'd be more shocked if it tasted just like a, fucking chicken.
Right. Because what about in the sense, like, you get a piece of chicken, and the piece of chicken isn't uniform. You have fat pockets, you have, like, softer areas, hard. Like, I wonder if it would all be so consistent that it would feel weird.
That's possible.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Or if, depending on how it's prepared, it wouldn't make a fucking difference. Or I don't know. There's just so many interesting questions still.
And that's the other thing is, like, it's not layered. It wouldn't be layered with fat and stuff like that unless they did it separately. So that's what they do, like the 3D printing thing, where they have like they have a different substance for like the fattier part of it.
Right.
And they have to 3D print it in the style that like that is placed throughout it, like marbling or whatever.
Yeah, you have to weave it in the matrix of
meat
matrix.
The meat matrix.
Yeah. Dude, I wonder if God, that'd be so goofy. You're like printing, like, oh, hold on, I gotta unclog my printer. It's full of fucking meat. Like, got a meat jam. Like, I don't know. I think it's so cool. It's only on these type of future tech issues that I ever have any streak of conservative nature, but something about it does feel slightly weird to me. I'm not against it. I think we should, like, full force be experimenting with the things, but it is odd, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely odd. I think it's very cool though.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm all for it. And I mean, like, most vegans eat like shit anyways. It's really true. Like they eat hella fried and processed foods. And I would argue that it's partially because there aren't enough vegan based restaurants or even like restaurants with good vegan options. But when you do have that selection, or even when you have that selection, people want comfort food. And a lot of people that are going vegan learn really quickly that they need to learn how to cook because they don't have options elsewhere unless they, want to go out with their friends and the only thing they can get is fried pickles or black bean burgers or salads, and it's
Oreos. That's the big one.
It's just such a weird, like, and it's an accident. Someone told me, they call that accidentally vegan. It's like, it's not like they're going out of the way to make it vegan. And I was like, well, does it really matter at that point?
Right.
Yeah. So I think, because the last place I worked at, was a vegan restaurant, and it was a vegan health food restaurant, and the food was good. That was the thing that was fucking crazy, was like the food tasted great. I made what I consider to be the closest thing to a burger that you can get from Whole Foods. Like, we didn't have the soy protein isolate that they use for, the Beyond and Impossible Burger shit. Like, that texture it tastes like it has the texture of beef, and I get it. But we use like quinoa and lentils and rice and carrots and beets and onion and made a burger out of it. And I think it's the closest thing that I've had to a real burger patty that you can get with whole ingredients.
Yeah.
So it it wasn't that the food was, shitty or anything. It was just because people would be like, oh, this is healthier food. It's not, we don't have fries to serve with the sandwiches, shit like that. So, but, there are vegan places with vegan options that are, like fried fake chicken, sandwiches and shit. And they go ape shit. They do great sales.
Yeah. Now, I do think there's a lot of vegan food that is bland, but the people that know what they're doing, dude, like you, the stuff you make, my ex was vegan, so I ate a bunch of that for years. If you're a good cook and know what to do with it, it is like your options are so unlimited.
Yeah.
Like eating vegan can taste better than eating trashy meat stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, you touched on something that, like, a lot of vegan, vegetarian, whatever, I do think it's like really almost 50-50 on if they eat good or not. Like a complete diet, or like not just trashy stuff.
It's super not 50-50.
Really?
I would say most vegans eat like shit.
Damn.
And I think I would argue that it's mostly because they're vegan for the moral reason, rather than the health reason.
Gotcha. So do you feel like the main thing is lack of protein or lack of full spectrum nutrients?
Yeah, it was just across the board, full spectrum nutrients. I mean, because there are certain things that, like, you can get, they argue, like, if you eat, a vegan diet, you should be having iodized salt and or seaweed, like, at least once a week, if not twice. Because you need the iodine in your diet, like shit like that. And like,
right.
Or the B12, like, you can get that from plants, but like you need more of it. Or iron. And so you're supposed to have like more iron than a person that eats meat, because the type of iron that you're getting, I think it's iron. I might be mixing that up with a different one, a different metal. But there are two different kinds, and like the kind that you get from meat is different from the kind you get from plants. But like, if you eat enough fucking kale and broccoli and shit, you're good. You just have to, instead of like the recommended amount, you should eat the recommended amount plus half of that, the 1.5 times the recommended amount kind of shit.
So you think most vegans aren't eating as healthy as they think? But
right, they're not eating meat, but they're not eating healthy.
And that I would guess to say, though, like, a portion of the people, of vegans that do eat actually healthy, like, they're eating super fucking healthy though,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's not that, even the ones that I say, like, they don't eat healthy, and it's not like my diet's great either, but when they're not eating healthy, it's it's probably still, like, a majority of the time, it's not like their diet is always complete shit.
Right.
I'm sure they're having, their fair share of whole ingredient vegetables also.
I wonder how much like a simple multivitamin can compensate for some of those deficiencies in the diet. Most
of the, like, typical multivitamins don't have the shit they need.
Interesting.
Finding the right, there's two problems with finding multivitamins for vegans. One is finding one that has all the ingredients. I'd say that there's three problems. One is finding one that has all the different things that they need and the amounts that they need.
Sure.
The second problem is finding one that doesn't bind it with gelatin. Which is,
my God.
Yeah,
that's so dumb though.
Yeah. Well, then the third problem is then finding the first two and having it be affordable.
Right. Yeah, I know they get gelatin is like horse hooves and shit, right?
It's made out of animal product.
Protein of some sort.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, I think in conclusion, the lab grown meat, I think, could be an ethical answer to the issue. It's just we're not quite there yet, right?
Yeah.
It does feel
we're right on the cusp of it, though.
Yeah, we are. It just feels a little bizarre. It just seems kind of science fiction-y to eat lab grown meat. I don't know why I feel so strongly that way. Like, I want to try it.
It absolutely does. It does feel very weird.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me not not interested. It makes me very much more interested in it.
Yeah. So that's most of our background. We're just going to kind of delve into more of the morality and ethics. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's our first big question?
So does the morality of murder apply to animals?
It kind of begs the question, like, why is murder wrong to begin with? Right? Like, why is murder wrong, and why is killing a human bad, but killing an animal isn't? That's kind of like the baseline of society, right?
I think it can get kind of hairy when you start to go like, go from the other perspective of it. But some people do need killing, like that guy. So there is a story that came out not that long ago of a girl, of a woman that I guess she found out that it was either her husband or it was her husband. I'm not sure if it was like the kid's father or their stepfather. It doesn't really matter. He was like molesting them or something like that, and she found out about it years later. And she threw boiling water on him when he was sleeping. Nice. And he was like in the hospital for several days with all these burns, and they were going to charge her with like, disfigurement or like whatever, gross bodily harm. But he died. So she's being charged with murder. And like, as far as I'm concerned, he had it coming.
Yeah.
That's a mercy killing. He was ready to go.
I agree. But I think like there should be some form of sanctioned or justifiable personal, like murder on a personal level between individuals. Like I think we should have a way of not imprisoning people for some types of murder, but I don't like the idea of our government choosing who to execute and who not. Like I wouldn't want the state to murder that man, even though he, in my opinion, should die.
Yeah.
Because
she deserves that kill.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She definitely does. But I don't know. I still don't want any institution being an executor. I definitely don't trust our government enough to make those decisions right every time. So we're open on the idea of justifiable murder.
Of justifiable murder.
Is it justifiable to kill an animal just for the resource?
Just for the resource.
Ignoring all the terrible conditions, problems with industrial meat industry, all those things. Is it justifiable to eat an animal? Now, let's say, because we kind of stated earlier on that this isn't like we need the nutrients. Like in the past, we did. We had to eat animals. We needed the protein, whatever. But today, if you're in a modern area of the world, you don't need to, right?
Right.
So can we get away with justifying eating an animal just because we want to, we like the way it tastes, whatever? That's tricky.
And here's where I kind of start to go back and forth in my own head, because there is a part of me that I'd say most of me believes that, and it's probably a romanticism of the idea of like living off the land. And if you have a fucking house in the woods kind of thing, and this is still like, this is not what we're talking about. This is, if you're still part of a society. But if you like, say you were like in the, had a couple 100 acres and you had your own little, vegetable farm, and you hunted deer, you went out and bow hunted deer, and you would fill up a meat freezer and make sure that's plugged in and make sure, nothing goes wrong with it. Check on it every now and then to make sure it's not,
so
getting
Steven
rank.
Doesn't have to empty it with gallon buckets for meat slop for a week. Yeah, that would be good.
That would be cool. No, so I think if you're, I don't think that's wrong. And I do find it hard to argue why I don't think it's wrong, but I can think of,
because
it's equally hard to argue why it's right, because there, like my argument to why it's okay is, like we are, even without, the society, involved. If, if you are a hunter gatherer, Homo sapien, we are a predatorial species.
Yeah.
And if you put it down on the base level of animals, whatever, and what we've, what our species has done for, 1.7 million years, I think it's fine to say that we have an omnivorous diet is fine. So hunting or farming your own animals, for food as well as other resources is fine. And if you get to the point where, you have a horse and you want fucking horse steaks, and maybe, your desire for, I don't know why I said horses and I couldn't just say cow. You have a cow and, your want of, meat outweighs your desire for the other services that cow provides. You're a predatorial species. We're a predatorial species. I think that's fine to do that. To kill that animal.
Yeah, your appeal is essentially that it is our nature.
Yeah.
And I agree that we are animals as well. And I do think it is our nature. And I know both our thoughts when we conclude, we're kind of pretty balanced, I think, about it. But I do think for myself personally, I do feel like our nature is to consume other animals, right? But there is something in me that does truly feel that I am living against my own morals by consuming meat.
Now, let me point this out real quick. So the morality of murder in humans isn't preceded by us eating that person. What we've just been talking about for the last couple minutes has been, killing animals for food. Killing animals for like trophy or killing animals like for fun, that's fucked up.
See, but I feel like I agree full-heartedly, but I almost feel like if you're okay with eating animal meat, you almost should be, like, logically okay with animal abuse and all those other things, right? Like, how can it be okay to eat an animal but not to beat it?
Well, that's like, you could say, like, how is it okay to eat, vegetables but not going out and destroying a garden full of vegetables?
But morally, I think destroying a garden of vegetables is a ethically neutral act. It's destructive, it's dumb, but you're not hurting another life.
And that's true too. I'd say it's wasteful. Also, but I think it's obviously it's morally worse to abuse an animal than it is to tear up a garden. Let me get out in front of that before I get an email about it.
I agree.
But I think that it's fair to say that it's wrong to abuse an animal, but if you're raising an animal, a domesticated animal on a farm, you're not hurting that animal. You're not abusing that animal. You wouldn't, because then they wouldn't be, as much use to you.
But if you slaughter it for the meat, you are.
Yeah, and preferably you kill it in the quickest way possible.
You hear my cat meowing?
Yeah, I did hear your cat meowing. That's cute.
I don't know what she's... Do you mind taking it for just a sec?
Yeah.
Yeah. course, while I'm gone, you say all the profound things.
Yeah, no,
She was out there killing a mouse.
nice, cool, good for her.
I'm joking. But she's a murderer either way. Actually, the little kitten, she got her first kill yesterday. She caught a moth.
Ooh, cool.
She was torturing it by, patting it with her paws. I was like, no. Don't do that. You can eat it.
Yeah,
but don't abuse it.
Yeah, don't abuse it though.
It's just tricky. I don't know. I'm extremely anti-animal abuse, but it's like we don't kill humans because we don't want to be killed. Like when it comes down to it, we assign morality to it, but I think it's really out of survival, and we've placed morals in it because we see that other people are just like us. They have a similar level of intelligence, sentience, but what level do we decide, like, where's that bar? Like, why is it okay to, like, kill a chicken for food, but, like, an elephant we don't want to kill? Or, like, why is it okay to eat chickens or to kill a bug, but we're not going to kill our dog? You know what I mean?
I will say this, too. I know the point you're making, but there are more chickens on this planet than there are people.
That's wild.
And there are way fewer elephants.
Yeah, but if you take the moral route, then like it's still like they should all be of equal value. Like I don't necessarily believe in souls, but a life is a life.
I can agree with that. If your morality is saying that, that they're all, if you're going the moral route, then yes, they should be all equal. But
Buddhist way.
Yeah, I guess at that point you're correct. My opinion swerves otherwise.
See, but that's where it's tricky. It's like ants, bugs. Like, what level of sentience of an animal is sacred compared to like a whale? Like, it's just tricky because we kill the smaller thing. The things we see ourselves in the least are like free game, and then things that feel big and sacred are special. We don't want to eat them,
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm hella down to introduce bugs into the mainstream diet and insects and stuff. Crickets have a ton of protein, and also they're nice and crunchy.
Little chocolate drizzle.
Oh man, I had some crickets in a miso soup before, and it was really, really good. I think I might have told this story on here before. I almost definitely did. That's the time I had a kidney stone at work. And later on that night, when I vomited due to the severe pain of the kidney stone, I had little cricket pieces all up in my.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was funny. I had to laugh.
Dude, guess what I ate last night?
Crickets.
A cat nail.
Why?
It was an accident. I said, come over here. I was eating pumpkin seeds laying in bed, and I like spilled some in the sheets, and I'm like eating them while watching a show, and I put one in my mouth and bite down, and it cracked hard, and I was like, what the fuck? I like thought there was a rock in my seeds, and I spit it out, and it's an entire cat nail.
Oh.
Like the sheath when they shed it, and it like shattered, and I have like cat claw all in my mouth. Sarah was laughing at me so hard.
I mean, it is pretty funny. That's what you get for eating seeds in bed.
Exactly. But yeah, I think bugs is also one of the potential answers. Like that's something we could cultivate protein a lot easier with. But
yeah,
a vegan still wouldn't eat that, right?
No. So that wouldn't be on the vegan diet. Although I still think it's
viable.
Yeah, it's a viable option. It's environmentally friendly. They're a good source of all kinds of vitamins and minerals and fiber, and they're extremely rich in protein.
Yeah. My brother went to Peru for like 3 months on some trip, like a help people thing, and he ate a ton of crickets. And he like grew to like them quite a bit. This is random. Have you seen that Twilight episode about eating humans, like farming?
I have not.
There's an episode that gets mentioned of the Twilight Zone that gets mentioned a lot in debates on veganism and eating meat. The episode is called "To Serve Man," and I've watched it, but it's been a long time. But the premise essentially was that aliens come to Earth and enslave us, and they farm humans to eat them. And we're appealing to the aliens like, hey, don't eat us. We're special. We're smart. We're just like you. And the alien is such a greater, more sentient being. And from their point of view, it's like human is to them what we are to animals. And why shouldn't we eat you? And it's clearly Twilight Zone. It's a little cheesy, but I think it's a fair analogy. In the sense, like, if we're okay with eating animals, we should be okay with a greater being consuming us, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a hard... I mean, I don't know how likely any of that is to ever fucking come and play, but...
isn't that what Attack on Titan's about?
I haven't watched that.
I've only seen the first season of it. I've heard it gets really good, though. I mean, the first season's really good, but I've heard it gets even better.
Dude, part of the reason we pushed back recording a little bit was so I could play video games a little bit longer. I needed like a decompression break.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been playing Titanfall 2.
Oh, yeah. How's that?
Dude, holy shit.
I know the first one was a fucking success.
Was it?
Yeah, I heard a lot of good shit about it. Never played it, but I've watched people play it, and it looks like a lot of fun.
You like the Halo stuff a lot, so this is like a better version to me. It is like...
Better than Halo?
Yeah, in game mechanics, yeah. I don't know how the multiplayer and stuff works. Like Halo's still the OG, but hands down, period, dude. It is the best shooter game mechanics I've ever experienced.
Oh, nice.
It's like Mirror's Edge with like actual guns and multiplayer.
Like you're supposed to use the guns.
Yeah, like you run walls and like super jumps and stuff. I'm not into the sci-fi tech stuff, but I just love how it feels. Like it is the best game mechanics in a shooter I've experienced.
Heard that.
It's really fun. It's fast paced. You would definitely like Halo more, but you'd enjoy it. It's on Game Pass.
All right, I'll fuck with it.
Yeah.
So veganism.
Yeah, sure.
So your cat will eat you. So why shouldn't you eat it?
That's hard.
It is. I mean, so like, I guess the thing with like domesticated animals is, we decided that we have, an obligation, not an obligation, but we have decided that in exchange for their companionship, we will not kill them.
Right.
I mean, and of course some people still do, and that's awful. And I'm sure we mentioned this too. Like it's so much easier for me to watch like a person getting hurt or like, fucking murked than watching anyone like torture or hurt an animal.
You said it's harder to watch the human.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Other way.
That's what
I could watch that any day of the week. Before I would rather watch fucking snuff films and gore shit all day long than have to watch
an animal.
Yeah.
Get hurt.
A single video of an animal getting hurt.
I'm with you, man. I like dogs more than humans, right?
That's the absolute truth.
Yeah. It is tricky. Like our bond with animals, especially as pets, it's all a social contract of sorts. We've chosen to put them in these special positions in our lives as a society, and we value them enough to hold them in a position where we wouldn't hurt or eat them, even though they would consume us given the chance. Animals are opportunists. They don't have a true moral system. There's no hard ethics in the animal kingdom. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and while humans may not be that different, we can still exercise our free will in our consumption, while animals are powerless over their hunger.
True.
I think that's a truth. I don't think animals really have control in their hunger.
It comes to a point where, like, you know, if you've watched a nature documentary, you see like where they have like a tiger or something, and it's like they tries to get a kill and it misses. You know, it doesn't get, you know, the wildebeest or whatever the fuck it was, and then they're like, you know, they haven't eaten in a week, and they're probably going to go another couple days without eating, and that might be the end of them. So them getting desperate, you know, just to survive, it's a different struggle.
It's like a vampire low on blood.
They gonna bite you.
Yeah, go and bite you. Like I think our pets can love us, but I don't think it's true love, because given the opportunity, as much as we can have a true love bond with them, I don't think they can fully reciprocate it. And I don't think that changes the nature of the relationship, but I do think some of the love we like assume they're giving is like a reflection of ours on them, and that they, to an extent, have to love us. They pretend to love us as a self-defense mechanism. It's
so we
how
keep
they get
feeding
their
them, and
cleaning
their fucking shit out of a litter box.
God, wouldn't it be so crazy to be able to speak with them? Like,
oh my God, yeah.
My connection with animals, I feel like is very serious and intimate. I am animal carved on my chest. Like I fucking love animals. Like I feel like when I can look into an animal's eye, that I can like soul bond and have like a deeper level of connection than a lot of other people. It's special and unique, and that's how most people feel when they see certain animals. But it would be interesting to know, like, if we really could communicate with them, how much, or if at all, it's reciprocated.
I think it is reciprocated.
You think so?
Not in every circumstance, but I think in a lot of them.
Do you think it's animal to animal, or
like owner to owner? I think, you know, because there are some that are more attentive, and, you know, and definitely animal to animal, I'm sure that's true too. But I even like my cat, so like she's standoffish because she's got anxiety. Like and it sounds funny to say like my cat with her anxiety, but
she does though.
She super does. And it's a real thing that, like, you know, because I was looking up like different behavioral things that she was doing. They were like, oh yeah, she's got, you know, that sounds like cat anxiety. And it's like, oh, that's a real thing. So her, like, seeing, I can, since I've had her since she was a kitten, like, you know, I've seen her like around other people, and I can tell the way she acts, and like, even if she like turns and like attacks me because she's like tensed up because of outside stimulation, and like I go to pet her and she turns around and like, you know, puts her teeth on me, she won't bite me hard. It'll just be like, it's like a warning, and then she'll lick me afterward. Right. You know, and I take that to mean like, you know, like I'm sorry, I love you, don't fuck with me right now.
Yeah. I always say to mine, thank you for apologizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But we've talked about it a little bit before. Do you believe in souls? Like, do you think our souls are the same as an animal? I don't know.
I think I like the idea of souls. But I like the idea more on like a wavelength kind of thing, where a soul isn't like a, you know, a biblical in the sense, or a, you know, fantasy kind of a sense. It's literally just a frequency of electromagnetism that the way that the strings in your brain vibrate,
Right.
But that make you who you are.
Do you think ours would be like, I mean, obviously it's unique to each being's experience, but do you think ours would be the same as an animal? Like, if we could look at everything in the grand scheme, do you think I don't necessarily think this would be the case, but I wonder if like an ant's soul is the same as a human. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, going with what the idea that I guess I prefer, which is the frequency thing, then technically, yeah. The only difference would be, the other internal and external stimulation they get. The reason that you act the way you do and think the way you do and are the way that you are is because of, the other internal stimulation in your body, whether it be, different chemical balances or the external stimulation of, your everything that happens to you since you're born, the life that you, have grown up around and the life that you live and the things that you do. Future, changes your perspective on things.
Right.
So it shapes that vibration in a way, I guess.
So I wonder if there are like based on the being's understanding of experience, like the level of awareness affects like the weight of that soul, of that wavelength.
No.
I think it's all like a base sum.
I think that, I mean, and by this own argument, I can see that, in my own hypocrisy that, by the argument that I'm making right now, that, all, I was going to say all lives matter. all lives are equal. Yeah.
Just got her edit point. Right,
there it is. So by that argument that, despite, and I guess that's the point I was trying to make, is like, if all souls are equal from, the fucking beluga whale down to, the tiniest little ant, including us, is equal in the same, aside from stimuli, then
sure,
the only thing that changes that would be the animal instinct or the innate instinct. I can't even say, I guess it is animal instinct, because plants don't really have it, of, I guess they do. I was going to say of, predator versus prey kind of thing. There's that aspect of our buildup that is innate. Our instincts are built into our core. And it's not that they can't be suppressed or altered, but it is innate. That's what makes them instinct.
Mm-hmm.
I say, by my own argument, I should be completely vegan.
I know,
but
dude. This is what I've been circling through all week, because the more I investigate it, the more I feel like I'm going against my morals, but with my true nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like our true nature in what we want and crave in this world, whether it be love, affection, or animal protein for sustenance. I don't feel like the things we crave with our nature are the same as our morals. Like they just don't line up. I don't know if we're meant to like be an ethical person.
Yeah, that's what kinks are.
Yeah,
When your desires don't line up with society's morals.
With society, because they can line up with your own pretty well. But it is tricky. I don't know. I get, the more I get into it, the more confused I feel. Now, what about like our emotional connections with, like, you look in their eyes, you feel the emotion. Should that be separate from like the logical aspect of whether we eat them or not? Like, should emotional reason be enough or not enough?
Well, I've never been put in the situation, but I'm thinking. Yeah, we can do that. Sorry, I was reading and I stopped anyways.
Do you want to just do it now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted because Sarah texted me. I forgot she put a pot roast on.
Oh shit!
I don't know if it's like cooked too long or not. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be super. I'd hate killing our momentum, but we'll get back.
No, you're good. You're good. I'll get right back into it. You're good.
Cool.
Find it pretty ironic that Steven's talking about not killing animals, yet he's gonna go fix that damn pot roast. I hope he sees this when he's editing. Text me when you hear this, Steven.
Let me ask you a quick ethics question.
Yeah.
So Sarah gets back in 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. This pot roast is on low. When I cut into the chicken, it looks all white, like it's been cooked through, but I don't know.
Wait. Stop. Hold on. You said pot roast and then said chicken.
Oh, I meant, what do you call it? The cooker pot.
Okay. It's crock pot.
Crock pot.
Okay. Say a pot roast is a beef dish. Go ahead.
So she put this crock pot on maybe like 6, 7 o'clock on low, and it feels like it looks like the chicken is cooked through, but I don't know if it could have already be overcooked, but I don't think it is. It still seems juicy, but I don't know if it's good another 40 minutes on low or not.
And I'm guessing you don't have a meat thermometer?
Fuck, I think I do, actually.
Stick it into the thigh. Is like a whole chicken?
It's just the breasts.
Okay. Are they on the bone?
Are they what?
On the bone, or is it just some chicken breasts in a crock pot?
Boneless, yeah.
All right. So, yeah.
With veggies.
Well, then I can give you this. Pick it up. If it has any flop to it when you pick it up, it's not done. Or if you definitely have a meat thermometer, look on the meat thermometer. If it's like the metal stem of it, there should be a little dot somewhere along the stem of it. That's where the temperature reader is. Make sure that part is in the thickest part of the chicken, and you're looking for like 155 ish. You want it, and then you can turn it off and leave the lid on, and you're good.
Leave the lid on
until she gets home. Yeah, she'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Cool. I think when we unpause, I'll do one of the cat cuts and be like, "Sorry guys, I didn't shoot."
I mentioned that. I was like, I found it pretty ironic that we're talking about veganism and Steven's over here cooking pot roast.
I haven't ate all meat today, too. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Sarah's 40 minutes out. You know what? Did you leave the lid on it?
I took it off. Yeah, I did.
Okay, take the lid off.
She's about 30 minutes out now, is it?
I would still take the lid off because you're already overcooked, but you can prevent more. Gotcha. I just want you to have good food, homie.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I can't take it off because the gnats.
Oh damn! Oh well. Yep, that's all right.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
She knew I was recording, so
Yeah.
I think it still felt like good.
Cool.
Sorry, we're back. I had when Sarah left today or this evening, she apparently put on a crock pot, so I had to go check the meat temperature real quick. So we are back. The question was: should emotional connection to animals be a motivating factor not to eat them? Should emotion trump logic in a sense on whether we consume them or not? Is our connection to them strong enough to prevent us from eating them?
So I've not ever been put in the situation where I've been starving so bad that I would eat my cat.
Right.
And I'm picturing myself in that say like it was like me somehow in the hypothetical situation of me and my cat on a deserted island. And I've eaten all the coconuts on the tree and I've tried all the other flora on the island, but there is no other source of food for me and I am starving. Would I eat my cat? Dude, that's still a big maybe. Because
I think
if I mean, it depends on if I really thought that like help was on the way, and if eating her would make the difference, maybe
right.
I might still try to struggle through it. Because if I did that and then like I just spent the rest of my days like, starving and then realizing that I did that, that would suck.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting spin on it. So we talked about soul weight. The more ethical decision, if all souls were to be equal, would be to let yourself starve and let the cat eat you because it could survive longer. Like, a lot of times the value is on extending consciousness as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And the cat could live longer off us. I think in some situations I could eat the cat, but I don't know, man. I don't think I'd be able to do it either. The emotion involved in it would be overwhelming.
It's my little girl.
Yeah,
she's so sweet to me and so nice. And
she hates
everyone else.
We went straight to abandoned island. Like, what about like just in general, like? Or if it wasn't our animal, like.
I definitely, if it was same abandoned island and it's not my animal and it's just like another cute pet animal. Not
even a cute one, some dumb deer that got shipwrecked.
No, I would definitely eat that fucking deer.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's still.
I would eat the deer. I wouldn't do it like right off the bat. Like I wake up on the island and like, oh fuck, a deer, and then immediately go for it.
I feel like your one chance. They're quick motherfuckers. It's a big island. You got a rock in your hand.
Okay, I guess when my problem is when I picture a deserted island, I always think of that like cartoon island where it's just a hill with like one fucking tree and like
same, bro. Every time.
If we're talking about like the Lost Island,
yeah. The one animal living on this whole island, and it's huge. and it looked really cute, and it was nice to you.
It was on the plane that I was on when it crashed. That's how I know that there's not more. It was sitting next to me on the plane.
And it slided you by taking the aisle seat.
Well, he does need the leg room. He's got 4 of them.
But the emotional connection is tricky because I don't.
No, because it's not like I'm not going to have companionship with that animal.
Right.
That animal's not going to like bond with me. Whereas even like.
It happens though.
It can happen.
It's just harder.
Yeah, but that animal's, their initial instinct is going to be run away.
Yeah. Unless I have my vape. Dude, I think I've told you.
You told me about that.
When I do landscaping and stuff, like deers are like drawn in to like the fruity vape juices I use, and they literally like sniff out and follow the clouds of vape. It is outstanding. It tricks them into coming close to me, and then I soul bond with them, and then I eat them.
Just real quick though. Just as a treat. Do you
little work treat?
Do you is your vape juice? Is it Fruit Loop scented, or Fruit Loop flavored?
Not Fruit Loops, but super fruity.
I was gonna say you could say like how Toucan Sam says, you gotta follow your nose, and
follow your nose wherever it goes.
And they do.
They sure do. But you've bonded with wild animals.
Not in the way that like they've given me companionship for more than a few moments.
But even that can be a very intimate experience.
It can, but like that fucking Jägermeister deer that I saw that, like had a moment with me while I was sitting on fucking Stanberry tree, I would absolutely eat that motherfucker if I didn't have another option. And if I thought I could take it, I absolutely would.
What if you don't have other or you do have other options?
If I do have other options, I'd probably go for the other options. I mean, I've come to the conclusion that I am less of a hunter, more of a gatherer. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just that's not my go-to. If I can survive literally on my own without using the killing of other animals, I would prefer to do that.
Yeah. So in regards to that, things such as legislation or changes we can make, what if people were literally forced to have to look in the eyes of an equal animal before buying and consuming said meat?
I don't think it would change too much.
If you had to look a chicken in the eyes before buying chicken meat?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
Does that make me a sociopath?
No, not at all.
Because I definitely,
if you had to go to Kroger and you pick up your chicken breast and they had like a mirror you had to look in that had that chicken's family squawking back at you, looking you in the eye, and you had to look that chicken's family in the eye before you eat their mama, I think people would still eat meat, but more people would be turned off. I'm
stuck on the part where you said it's a mirror, and in the mirror I see the chicken's family, and I'm thinking like, oh, it's me. It's like, I'm the chicken all along.
It was all a trap.
I mean, they even have like the things I've seen like stickers on packaged meat at like grocery stores where it's like, my name was blank, and it has a picture of a cow on it or whatever.
Why do they do that?
Because they don't want people to buy the meat.
They don't want, or
no,
is
like the store isn't putting it on there. Someone is going into the grocery store and putting these stickers on the thing.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
Now that being said, the eggs I buy, the Vital Farms eggs, has a thing on there where you can like scan it with your phone, and it has like a 3D camera view of their farm, and you can see the fucking chickens walking around and like the acres that they provide for the cage-free eggs and whatever.
It's interesting.
Which is, I think that's cool. But basically you're looking at these eggs or these chickens as you are cracking into these eggs, which is not the same entirely. Cause it's not like you're like looking at, this chicken's friends and family while you're digging in on this rotisserie chicken.
Right. Now what about this one? This one kind of makes sense to me. Like, it's illegal to buy, sell, trade a substance that's altering like drugs, but it's not illegal to sell flesh. What if the answer was it's not illegal to eat animals? You can raise them or get them within like a certain local distance, but if largely that selling animal flesh was illegal. I feel like there's something in that could offer a lot of solutions. There is something in that. The main issue doesn't come from, I think, upon hearing that from you the first time, I was thinking the issue comes from
people's freedom, but like you're still able to get meat. It's just where from and how it's, delivered to you. Mm-hmm. The main issue is then like, how much is too much? How much, can you produce or sell before it becomes illegal?
Yeah, it would be very complicated, but I feel like there's something there. I feel like those things could be figured out like through communities, or I feel like there could be some form of balance there. Like if that, by doing so, would get rid of the industrial meat business. Yeah. Like if there was something like flesh can only travel 10 miles, you can make enough to feed X amount of people. Like something in that seems like it could make sense.
Here's an argument, like per acreage of land where you are, per square acreage of land where this animal is allowed, or your farm of these animals is allowed to survey. So like if you have 200 acres and you have the cows that you have are able to graze among those 200 acres, per that number that they are able to, they have free access to, that determines how much that you are allowed to kill and distribute. Mm-hmm. Because that shows that you don't have, they're not all crammed into the fucking, warehouses, and they're not.
Right.
And the other one is like the fucking injecting of hormones and shit. Like I know what I was saying about like the GMO shit earlier. Like for plants, fine, because you're fucking with like the seeds and then they're growing.
There's still problems.
Yeah, there's still issues with that. It's not perfect. I'm not saying all GMOs all the time go for it.
Right.
But with animals for sure, like injecting them with shit, that's fucked up. That's
like fucking turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like I know you've seen like the fucking, like even like the, when you get like a slice of like chicken breast at the grocery store at the deli, and it's like so fucking big. Mm-hmm. Like, have you ever seen a chicken breast that big before? You ever gotten a chicken with a fucking breast on it that was that fucking big? Like, that's fucked.
And how is that not animal abuse?
Exactly.
Is it okay because we're killing it?
That's like, animal abuse. It's like if you're gonna raise an animal where its intended purpose is to be eaten by either by you or someone else, that animal at least deserves to have a good life while it's here. Of like the fucking the Kobe beef shit, where they feed them beer and like give them massages and like they treat them like fucking kings. Mm-hmm. Like that shit, I like that.
I don't know. I feel like the line is like it. I feel like if we're killing them, then abuse shouldn't be a question. And it's not like I want the animals to be treated with dignity and the least amount of suffering possible. But there is something that feels hypocritical. And I think both of us are acknowledging that parts of what we feel are like confused in all this, because it's a very confusing thing to navigate. Like, how can we be okay with eating them, but we're not okay with them being abused with things to make them bigger? It's very tricky. I for some reason I do feel strongly that something about like not changing the legality of meat, but changing the legality of meat distribution. I feel like there's something there. And I think part of that is because we eat so much meat because we have unlimited meat.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason not to. Like if and we don't see the effects on the animals or the environment for that matter directly. Like we're not looking the chicken in the eye at Kroger, at the supermarket, whatever. Like if the consumption, if the supply was more limited, the demand would reflect that. I don't know.
Right.
There's something there for me. I don't know I know I don't got it nailed down, but I feel something. I feel it.
I feel it. Well, if excuse me, if supply is down, of course, demand increases. I think mostly it goes back to what you were saying about like, it's fighting your natural urges versus your moral compass. It's two different things. Our natural inclination is to be predators,
right,
of a sort, or at least to, overcome to survive. Even if your morality says not to, but then we're in a place where we don't need to, and yet we still do.
Exactly. That's the whole twist on it all. And this is something I've considered a lot, the nature versus morality. And it's something that, we've all considered, but I got really into thinking about for a while, because this couple years back, I'm on probation. I'm being forced to be sober, fucking heroin addict. And I remember the first time at an AA meeting being forced to be sober, and I have to get my 30-day coin, whatever. And I get the stupid fucking coin, and I look at it, and it says, "To thy own self be true." And I remember like it being like a little tear in my mind formed, because it was like, if I'm being true to myself, I would be giving in to my nature. And my nature is to be a piece of shit and get high forever, right? Like my true nature is like an uglier form of myself. And in morality, ethics, whatever, like we constantly are choosing to overcome our true nature, right? Like that's where it gets real tricky. It's like, do we give in to our true nature? Do we be a more primal version of ourselves? Or do we, as times change, as society changes, do we choose to make a choice that isn't towards our natural choices? I don't know. I think that's where I'm starting to land more. And I think part of it, of the hypocritic nature of this is, like, I think both of us aren't so strongly opposed to eating meat, but so much that comes with it. There's so much like disrespect and lack of dignity for the animals. Like it's a really ugly business. I knew this one guy who worked at one of the chick farms, and all day just strangling little baby chickens. I forget what it was even for. Why the fuck are they using baby chickens? It was for meat. Chicken nuggets.
Yeah, chicken nuggets, man.
Gotta use the little chickies. But dude, he was just strangling.
Each one is one nugget. So when you get a 5-piece McNugget at McDonald's for $1, think about that. You killed 5 chickens, 5 baby chickens.
He was like, he had like borderline PTSD, because all day you're hearing the sound of the animals just screaming for help, and you just strangle them one by one every day. Like, that shit's barbaric.
It is.
Like, it is an ugly business. And lots of blood.
There are many times where when I overanalyze meat, even the concept of like eating the flesh of an animal, it does gross me out a little bit. But then I get to thinking, like, not immediately after, but like, a week later or so, I'm thinking like, man, fucking steak sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
So like it's a weird, it's a weird shitty thing.
It is. It sucks. Like, I feel like it sucks for us because we want to act against our nature.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do. Now, I think this is the moment. Should we address my neighbors?
Yeah, let's talk about them.
So this is something we jokingly have been like, figuring out when we could work into an episode because it was a semi-traumatic experience for me. I say that half jokingly, but kind of was. So I live in the city, not out in the suburbs, whatever, not on a farm. I live in the city off a major, very busy road. And we're tucked away just 100 meters from the street, right? It's ghetto as fuck, right down the hill, just normal city area, right? My neighbors have literally 30 chickens, turkeys, ducks, all kinds of shit, dogs, whatever, all these animals. They also raise pigs, and the pigs, the hogs, whatever, they're like 100 to 200 pounds, I would guess. So some big ones.
Let me pause you here. If you had to estimate, how big do you think their lot of land is? Like, house included, how big do you think that plot of land is, like acres wise?
Could you guess how big my place is?
I would say about a half acre.
It's not mine, but yeah, that they have, let's say a half acre, but they also own the house next to it, so it's another half. Okay. But I'd still say it's less than 1 acre.
In 1 acre, that's too many animals.
Way too many. And I'll say this because I don't give a shit. I have called animal control on them before, and not for the reasons we're going to talk about, because I have seen, it wasn't even a direct family member, but someone that comes over their house now and again abuse an animal. And I'm not putting up with that shit.
Right.
So I'll call on that. And of course, they do nothing. But the thing I don't call on is something I've been morally conflicted on for a while now, because they raise these pigs, and part of the family's culture is they slaughter the pigs and barbecue it at a family event maybe once a month. So they literally raise these pigs. They treat the pigs lovingly, feed them, they try to take care of them. There's some things I don't think they do the best at. But I'm not seeing all of that. But maybe once a month, they take one of the big pigs out and they slaughter it like it's the same method you use on a farm, and is kind of the traditional way to kill animals. Like even in the meat industry, you're supposed to stun the animal one way or another. And on a farm or most places, that's typically hitting them on the head with the hammer. And then you slit its throat. And they literally do this in the backyard in a major city. The pig is screaming bloody murder, and it's a very violent affair.
Yeah.
But it's something they don't do to be violent or whatever. It is part of their cultural background, and it's a family event. Like, they raise these animals to eat. They're slaughtering it the best way they know how, although it's not ideal. And then they barbecue, and they probably eat every fucking piece of it. But it still doesn't feel great.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I think in a way it's less evil than eating a pig from the supermarket that was just part of this massive chain of killing a bunch of animals. But it still doesn't. It affected me emotionally to watch.
Yeah.
Unknowingly knowing. I didn't know I was going to look at it. Look out the window after hearing a noise, and they're bashing a hog on the head with a sledgehammer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't have any experience on working
Where
a farm.
would you land with it? Let's assume, because neither of us probably know, if I think they're using the right method for what is traditional, but I don't think they're doing it efficiently. There's times they've fucked up and it's been a brutal ordeal.
Yeah.
But let's assume, experiment. Let's assume they're doing it correctly. Is it wrong?
Let's assume, the method aside, let's assume that they're going by the right. Standard method.
And let's also maybe assume it's not in a major city, because that part of it I think is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, the thing that one of my biggest hangups is the fact that they have all these animals confined to such a small area. That's
in the sun and shit.
Yeah, that's fucked up to me. I'd consider that animal abuse. Yeah.
So why the fuck doesn't the city do anything?
The city,
like, people have called.
City laws don't have a restriction on that. Then
I think they do, though, in Cincy. I may be wrong, but
if they've been out there and they haven't done shit about it, then
yeah,
it would lead me to think that they don't.
Then again, Cincinnati is just that incompetent.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think, as brutal as it is, I do think that morally, like you said, it's still doing that is still much, much better than going to the grocery store and getting meat that has been gone through a full processing, industrialized. Like, this pig was raised into a warehouse of, pigs where it's, never been able to, take 2 steps
of freedom.
Yeah. I think it's better. Yeah, it's still fucked a little bit. It's one of those, like, I don't have the heart to do it myself. It's one of those, like, if it was a necessity or something, I could, but I don't. It's not a necessity to me, so I don't even consider it a thing that I need to be challenged with, I guess.
Yeah, what we keep circling back to, which I do find telling of either the debate itself or where me and you land on it, is the level of suffering involved. Because neither of us, assuming the neighbors did it all right, which I don't think they necessarily are, we think it's better that they're raising and slaughtering their own pigs, but we're not okay with the treatment of the animal, the life the animal's been given.
Yes.
Like, there's suffering involved in the treatment, and if it was a better quality of life, then the eating of that animal for subsistence would be much more acceptable or borderline ethical, whatever. So it seems like our biggest problem with this in general is the level the animal suffers, which is just which makes sense to me, but it is also confusing because we're placing value on the level of suffering the animal goes through, but we're still willing to kill it. And that's where I find that, like, little aspect of it intriguing.
Yeah, it's at least interesting.
Yeah.
This is a bold take.
Sure.
This is a real hot take. So, I feel like I was gonna say the main difference. I was trying to think of, like, why is it okay? We were going back to, like, why is it okay to kill this animal and not, people or whatever? And I was thinking, like, well, I said we don't eat people. And, like, just in that couple minutes when you were talking there, my mind went to, like, well, what if we, if we were farming people? But it's like, no, because those people, they're the same as you and me. They have the right, they have rights, and they have, could vote and shit like that. And, like, so of course, like, that's wrong individually on its own. And then I thought to myself, the difference between pigs voting and some people voting is that the pig can't hold the pen. I think there are some people that don't deserve to, that are either too stupid or too incompetent to know what the fuck they're talking about. Enough to make decisions that alter the lives of other people.
All animals are not created equally.
Yeah.
That's where it gets tricky, because there are lesser animals, there are lesser people. So we either base...
I'm going to cut that sound bit out. There are lesser people. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but the ethics involved is, like, do we value the level of sentience, the weight of a soul? Like, there almost has to be some justification or animal abuse would be okay, or killing shitty people to eat them would be okay. Like the argument can stack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's where it would come to the dividing line of like, where's the cutoff line?
Right. Yeah. And that's why it's on the person who says you can't do something to prove why and what is the point
to make that case.
And that's why it's tricky. That's why I feel like this argument is geared against the vegans, even though both of us are saying on an emotional level, we largely agree because we want less suffering for said animals.
Yeah.
But we still can't set the right litmus or bar that can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just dum-dums.
I mean, that's a given. We're definitely some dum-dums. But that says a lot about people that we definitely know that are stupider than us.
Yes. So what next? What do we do?
Well, we have next in our notes here the America's meat fetish, which is a thing. It's a very real thing.
Yeah.
You're not American unless you have way too many hot dogs on the 4th of July. Isn't that when they do the Nathan's hot dog eating contest too? I just realized that. I think that's on the 4th of July.
God, that shit grosses. I find it incredible.
So fucking gross. It's bad.
So gross. I can't believe that's what the world has come to.
What do they call those the videos where you just watch someone eat a mukbang?
Dude,
the mukbang
I fucking
videos.
hate that. So anybody who makes that is a piece of garbage.
You know what? There's one.
We should eat them.
Yeah.
For making it. Jesus Christ.
The way I found mukbang videos was like 6 years ago. I found this video of this tiny woman in China, or it might have been Japan,
seen her
and she goes into this place where it's like a ramen shop, and they have like all this thing of like fried stuff and like meats and other shit, and she has this fucking bowl that's like nearly big enough that she could fit in, and she devours all of it.
She has a black hole in her belly.
And I was like, I was impressed in such a way, but she like makes a new video every week and has for the last 6 years.
That is so disgusting to me. Sarah's home. That is so disgusting to me that I don't even blame her, but that people, I mean, discovering it's one thing, but that so many people want to watch.
Yeah, they're like,
week after
I gotta
week.
get home so I can watch this fucking mukbang video. I'm gonna search and find more of. I just watched this one. I'm gonna search and find more of these mukbang videos.
That is so like pornographically morbid to me.
There was a part of me that got turned on.
I'm sure you're not alone.
Just a little bit,
God.
but I didn't look out more.
And there was just as much shame.
Yeah, no, it was plenty of shame. So, like you say, that the hot dogs and like burgers, it's an American staple. Meat in general, it's an American staple. Our entire meal structure is based around meat. And while many other countries, they focus their meal around the carbohydrate, like bread or pasta or rice. And that's actually got a lot to do with lobbying in the 20th century by meat industrialists and lobbyists to push propaganda that meat is not only essential to your diet, but it's the most important piece of your diet.
Right.
Think of like the food pyramid thing that they had growing up. Even though like the section of bread on the bottom was bigger, it's still the meat was like higher up top, and they push that it's an equal part to your diet. So like a lot of countries, like when I was in culinary school, they were talking about like Canada had changed their food thing into like a chart. When they found it to be the easiest way, because it showed the levels of how much you should be in your diet, in a healthy diet.
Right. Candy cane, syrup.
Yeah, exactly.
The trash cat diet.
And cheese.
Yeah.
So, and of course, while protein is important to your diet, of course, there are far more ways to get complete proteins with a vegan diet than just focusing on meat. Like, dude, like just like quinoa and fucking soy is one, but people have mixed feelings on soy in large quantities.
The hormone aspect.
Yeah.
The effects.
The buckwheat, hemp seeds. Dude, hemp seeds. It's a complete protein. Chia seeds, tempeh, well, that's soy.
And synthetic stuff too, like protein powder. Like we have
the pea protein, and you can eat like fucking. And here's the other one: is there used to be the myth was that like if you rice and beans together is a complete protein. But the myth was so the myth was that if you had to eat them together at the same time, that's not true. No. If you eat rice in the morning, eat beans in the evening, your body's going to take those amino acids and put them together.
Yeah, it stays in your system for a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah,
for things to stack, right?
Yeah, and like you can take supplements and stuff to get like the amino blockchain and stuff. I think I always mix that up, but like different in the iron and shit. But like you can get it just by eating the food. And I was talking earlier about the gorilla. Like he gets his his muscle mass with no problem by just eating meat. There's a vegan bodybuilder. There's several of them, but like there's one in particular that's really popular. And I meant to find out exactly how to pronounce his last name. His name's Patrick Baboumian. I know I butchered that shit. He was born in Iran, but he's like Armenian and German. He's one of the strongest people on the planet, and he eats a vegan diet, and he still makes his fucking muscle gains.
What was that document? It was a Game Changers?
Game Changers. It focuses a bit on him.
Yeah. That documentary, I'll say, if people haven't watched it, definitely worth checking out. There are some valid criticisms of some specific factoids or elements of it there's a lot of criticism because some things may have been slightly exaggerated in certain elements, but as an overall documentary, it is very informative and worth watching.
Yeah, it's a really good, as far as like some of the vegan ones go, it's a really, really good documentary.
Yeah.
And his story, this guy's story is pretty cool. So in 2011, he turned vegan after a number of years of being vegetarian. And his quote says, I just found myself thinking that if I would have to kill the animals I ate with my own hands, I couldn't because I was too compassionate. I felt that I was fooling myself eating meat, considering the inability to kill an animal. So I thought I'd better be honest to myself and stop eating meat.
Damn.
So, like, I think, like, yeah, like on the same level that, where we're sitting here talking about it. And it's like if you're not going to kill it yourself, don't eat it. Like, that's fair. I think that's a very fair argument to make.
Yeah. Fucking sucks.
Yeah. I just want a steak and some chicken nuggets, man. All I wanted was a chicken wing.
I don't even enjoy eating meat all that much. It's just what you're falling apart. It's just because our society is so geared to it. Like, I like the times I enjoy meat the most is when it's a part of a meal. Like, I don't know, like a pizza where you have a little bit on it, or like in a pasta. Like, but I'm not big on like eating a steak by itself. Like every now and again, but not all. Like, I'm not big on it. So I feel like if it even if it's out of laziness or a slight amount of dishonesty, because our world is so geared pro meat, it does make it harder and easier to harder to step away from and easier to ignore it being a personal issue,
right,
for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't explain that well.
No, I get what you're saying. So it's harder to go out in society and not think about eating meat, or to be a vegan person, and it's harder to, or it's easier to excuse the behavior. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there's hypocrisy. Like I remember in high school, I was so fucking serious about it too. I wanted to join the ALF, the Animal Liberation Front. You see, there's I think Skinny Puppy, the musician, turned me on to him because there's a couple music videos, but there's videos all the time where you see the people suited up and they raid like an animal testing lab and free all the monkeys and shit. Like that's the Animal Liberation Front. They're like considered terrorists, right?
Yeah.
Like they break in places and free animals from zoos and shit. And I like wanted to be part of that because I fucking love animals so much. But then I would still eat meat, and it's like it's a weird. I think a lot of people really would fall into a similar like feeling or trap about it, but like it's just largely unaddressed.
Yeah.
Right? The people that are vegans are like weirdos or kind of annoying to like most normal people, and the normal people really aren't addressing it, even if they may feel similarly.
Yeah. I like how you basically just said vegans aren't normal people.
They're weirdos. I love them. I like a lot of vegans, but they're really not at all. There's normal people that made an ethical or health choice, but it is kind of out of the norm.
You're right on that. Yeah. I just made that sound with my mouth.
Yeah.
And like my own hypocrisy, I mean, we talked about some of it already, but like here, one of the weird things, it's completely illogical that I stick up on this, but like I no longer want to eat or serve octopus. Because I think they're really neat and they're extremely intelligent and cool. Even though they're like very abundant, as a source of protein, animal protein. It's like similar with like dolphins and stuff. Most people wouldn't even, consider eating a dolphin. And it's like, it's the same way that I look at like octopus, but other animals are cool, like, so why doesn't that prevent me from wanting to eat beef or pork? Pigs are really smart too. But pulled pork like always sounds hella good to me. Like,
yeah,
like honestly,
sometimes
like most of the time, like pork in general is like the one meat that I don't even eat much anymore. Like very occasionally, like I'll buy a good slab of bacon or something, but like most of the time I don't even fuck with it anymore.
It is interesting. I totally get why you'd feel that way about octopuses because they are so like special. But it's like but it's just weird that like we wouldn't want to eat a peacock because it's such an extraordinary animal, but we'll eat the chicken.
Yeah.
Have you seen that documentary, My Octopus Teacher?
No.
Holy shit, dude! It's a good one. It's a serious one, but it's this diver who some tragedy in his life happened and he started diving a lot, and it's him spending like a full year of diving with one octopus that would find him every day.
I've seen the trailer for this. I think I read about the story. Yeah.
It's an incredible documentary. It is definitely worth watching. It's like so I don't know, just telling about our connection to nature,
My Octopus Teacher sounds like an anime.
It definitely sounds like
does.
a hentai.
Yeah. It could go either way. It's fan service.
I know we're kind of getting towards the end, and I still don't feel that much closer to knowing exactly what I think, but I do feel like my feelings have come together a little bit.
We're on the right path of thinking about it. I also wanted to, because this just made me think of something. I don't want to eat octopus. I would fuck up some calamari though.
Dude, calamari's great.
It's hard to do it right, but when you do.
Yeah. So, been thinking about this shit all week. Kind of looking forward to it not being the primary focus. And I do feel like I understand where I stand a little bit better, but it is still very ambiguous. It seems like eating animals, or at the very least, more than we should or need to. For me, I feel like it's unethical. I feel like it is for most people too, but I think it's a choice we all have to come to on our own. Yeah. At the same time, I strongly feel that the presence of our lives to begin with are not ethical. I think human nature isn't like oriented towards ethics. We know. It sucks. I feel like we are at odds with our true nature and what we want to be in life. Humans are only good for humans, and we're definitely not even good for most of the other humans in the world. Aside from emotional connections, if we wanted to be the most ethical, we would have to kill ourselves. Like, aside from the damage we do to other people, if we wanted to be our most ethical, it would be non-existence, right? And clearly that's not a good thing either. Yeah. We don't want to do that. So it's like
the earth is healing. The people are killing themselves.
Dude, exactly. The human virus, right? Yeah. Like we're not good for each other most of the time. We're definitely not good for animals. We're not good for the earth. So I don't know. It's just kind of shitty. I don't think I can side with the vegans nor the carnivores. I think the vegans are sometimes limiting their physical pleasures that they can experience. And this is often out of a moral obligation of something that they cannot fix or change alone. I think that's a better route most of the time, but to change human nature isn't easy. It's possible, but not easy. While the meat eaters value the pleasure of eating flesh, they value that greater than the life sum total of the animal they consume. And the flesh is often disrespected in ugly ways as we fill our body with corpses for pleasure. By nature, we are death eaters and basically demons. Unfortunately, I am human. We all are pieces of shit. And we're just another animal among many. And while I cannot stand with either side, I do want both of their foods. That's the nature of it. I think it's all about balance, and in an attempt to live closer to my morals, I would like to eat less meat, but I don't think I would ever be able to stop altogether or necessarily want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotta find balance.
Truth.
It's all fucking life is a shitty balancing game.
That's the absolute truth. It's really, you know, like you said, balance. It's moderation in ways that makes, you know, sense to you or that work for you. Not all bodies are the same. Some people need things that other people don't. It's, you know, it's fucking weird.
Besides, if the Christians can cannibalize Jesus every week at Mass, I think I can eat a little bit of animal meat.
Right.
And with that, I think we should get a meat lovers pizza.
Yeah.
We'll get half meat lovers, half veg.
Yeah. just load it up with all the meat you have on one side and then load the other side up with all the veggies you have.
Oh, shit.
Papa John's is going to hate us. Is Papa John's still canceled? No, that guy left. Shaq's in charge now. Papa John's is cool now.
They're back on track with Shaq. Fuck, man. I enjoyed this one because this was more difficult. I like the I don't know how introspective or personally challenging it was.
Yeah, it's definitely I feel like it was one of the more morally challenging ones that we've ever done, considering we also did an episode on a African warlord who killed and ate people.
That was way easier than this.
Yeah.
But if you're up, I'd like to do more kind of going in this direction because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck yeah, man.
So remember, support your local farms and apiaries. If you don't think you have any near you, Google them. They're there. Maybe try not to buy as much industrialized hormone-injected meats or watered-down fake honey sugar water. Get the good shit. It's a little bit more, but shit's not really that much more expensive. Life fucking sucks, so spoil yourself. Thanks again for listening. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human. Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats on Instagram for news and art from the show.
Yep. You can also find us on Facebook. You'll find us. And if you're bored, you can check out my trash yard on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. And who else did we feature? What was your Moonlight mag?
Yeah, go check out the Moonlight magazine in Domino. over at the Moonlight Magazine. You can find them on Instagram at Moonlight Magazine, the Moonlight Magazine. Consider checking out their Patreon and their OnlyFans.
It's funny at the end. We always have to frantically scroll up.
Yeah.
Also check out Infected Mushroom if you're not familiar. Definitely worth a listen. I recommend Back to the Sauce album. And Max Loeffler on Instagram at HAXLOEFFLER for some awesome digital illustration work. Super trippy stuff. Definitely check all those honorable mentions out.
Tune in next Wednesday for our episode, or next episode. To be decided.
What are we on?
We're going to be on. This was philosophy, right? So we'll be entertainment.
We'll talk.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash. Don't eat your cat.
Don't eat your cat, please. I know we put out some ideas into the world today. Don't eat your cat.
We're going to get canceled for one of her fans eating their cat. What a terrible run it's been.
There's
the worst podcast.
one of our 3 fans.
40 episodes in.
Oh, Jesus Christ.